Do you want to hear 25 crazy movie facts? Let's talk about James McAvoy improvising an entire movie, how Aragorn was supposed to fight Sauron at the end of Return of the King, Ridley Scott using children in spacesuits in Alien, Laura Dern getting blacklisted in Hollywood for years, and so many other crazy facts you may have heard on our show in the past, but we're going to break them down now.
What's up, movie friends? Welcome back to Raiders of the Lost podcast, the ultimate film and TV podcast. Now, we have a special episode of our favorite crazy movie facts of all time. If you know our show, if you know our TikTok and Instagram, we have been posting facts about movies for years now, where there's never-ending, unrelenting machine of fun facts about film.
They are my lifeblood, honestly.
Yeah.
I loved growing up and looking on IMDb for factoids or watching DVD commentary. I love those little nuggets of stuff that no one knows about film.
Absolutely. And we put together a list of what our personal favorite facts are. We think these are mind-blowing, really interesting, also different from the typical facts you often see on these kinds of lists. We feel like these are a little bit more specific and niche, and some of them are pretty lesser known. We have covered them on the show, but we decided let's put together like a greatest hits of fun facts about movies. And so we're at this point in a TV series where they're out of ideas, so they're starting to they're doing the greatest hits of their best episodes.
This is our volume 10 hits, the CDs that used to come out. Now that's music. 1990. Now that's Raiders of the Lost podcast 2025.
We're the episode of Friends revisiting the best scenes.
No, but I mean, we have so many new listeners that come in every year. They may have never heard these factoids or fun breakdowns. We're going to kind of analyze them as well. But I would love to start with the first one because it's Harry Potter related.
Obviously.
So in The Half-Blood Prince, Daniel Radcliffe says he was often drunk or hungover from the night before of drinking. And many of the sequences and scenes in Half-Blood Prince, he sees that himself, and we can see a hungover Daniel Radcliffe in this film. He says it's his least favorite performance in the Harry Potter franchise for that reason.
You can feel it in his performance, but he's definitely muted more than usual in this film, and he was probably numb from what he was drinking, because he did have alcohol problems, and now he's alcohol-free for a long time now, but you can definitely feel that in the performance. It's different.
Yeah, he was struggling with alcohol addiction. He's sober now. I think when I watched the film after knowing that, he feels tired, he feels low energy, but it kind of connects to the character in the movie and what he's going through in general.
Yeah, struggling, but I mean, imagine being that famous at 17 years old. It's
He liked to have a good time, too good of a time, but that's amazing that he's sober now, but he calls it his least favorite performance.
Wow. All right, next up, we have a really fun fact about A Quiet Place. It's more of a question. So, in A Quiet Place, why don't the characters ever just wear their socks? So, first of all, socks would wear out. You're walking on concrete on the earth. This family walks.
You get holes in your socks.
Yeah, they walk quite a bit. They get to travel to other towns, and they're spending a lot of time on foot. Their socks would wear out. If you're spending that much time walking on the earth, your socks would wear out very quickly. Then you're going to start looking for socks. You're going to start going to different stores just for socks. So
yeah, but off the socks topic, I think the most important thing is bare feet walking around in a quiet place world. You can't produce noise. Bare feet, you have that sensitivity to touch. And of course, they would eventually harden and you become, used to the environment, like hobbit feet. They get very strong and sturdy, but I think the sensitivity to noise is why it's important to walk barefoot. I think that's why Krasinski has the characters barefoot.
Yeah, barefoot's the way to do it, I would say, for sure.
Absolutely, and I mean, you can't produce any noise or else you're going to get killed. Obviously, there's no potato chips that were taken in that convenience store. So I think, that's the
as
question.
Tempting as they were.
Yeah, you can't be wearing shoes in this world.
No way.
You can't be wearing boots or sneakers.
And plus,
imagine if you accidentally in a basketball court.
Especially after 4 years, your feet are probably super hard and very strong.
Yeah, hobbities.
Hobbities.
So I think one of my favorite facts that we've ever talked about is James McAvoy. He improvised an entire movie. It's called My Son. It was an experiment where he's playing a father who's investigating the disappearance of his child. And in reality, the script was written, but James McAvoy didn't know any of the lines. He was just given general directions of what was written for each of the other characters. And then he would basically go into the sequences and interact and figure it out.
It's an incredible performance, and what a great experiment to do as an actor. And you can see it where the other actors, they know what they're supposed to say, but as an actor to walk into a scene, you have a general idea of what's going to happen, but you're responding completely through listening, which is like in a way the purest form of acting. You're listening to the other person you're performing with, and it's incredible. Only someone as skilled as McAvoy could pull this off and be able to make it watchable like the film is. But it's imagine how difficult that is to be able to be like, you're on a set, multi-million-dollar production, and everything hinges on you being able to perform with other actors without knowing what you're supposed to say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure so many filmmakers, and we've experienced it ourselves on set, you have to deal with people flubbing lines the whole time,
Yeah.
but now you have someone who has to improvise the entire script. Like you said, McAvoy is amazing. Not many people could actually pull this off, and I think it's a really cool experiment, and it pulled off, and it worked really well.
He's the fucking man.
He's
great.
amazing.
All right, next up, we got Zack Snyder in the house with a really cool fun fact. For the film Army of the Dead, Zack Snyder actually digitally replaced Chris D'Elia with actress Tig Notaro. D'Elia originally filmed in the movie during production. However, he was canceled by Culture because of I can't remember exactly why.
Lots of allegations.
But yeah, lots of allegations, but D'Elia was canceled. And so Zack Snyder quickly replaced him by filming Tig Notaro on a green screen, and he then digitally replaced D'Elia with Notaro's scenes. And the visual effects team worked with Zack Snyder to create a seamless job of putting her into every scene or shot that D'Elia was originally in. So Tig Notaro appears in the film. She's the pilot. She's in a lot of scenes. She shared no scenes with the other actors in person. It was all visual effects.
All on green screen. You know, they did a pretty impressive job. I knew going into this film that they had done this because it hadn't come out yet, obviously. And so I was kind of looking out for it. You can, kind of tell that she's not really on set with everybody else. But at this point, when it comes to, superhero movies, so many actors aren't even acting with anyone anymore anyways. There's on green screen solo acting. So it pulled off. They pulled it off. It looks fine. It's just one of those weird instances where you have to, all right, what can we do to replace this actor? We have to get them out of the movie. And we're in the era that it's possible. Just to that's scary as an actor if you don't have any controversy and maybe your performance wasn't as strong. You just get replaced. That would be...
It's the Terrence Malick of visual effects.
Plug and play someone in there anytime they want. So that's a crazy fact.
I once dated a girl who was obsessed with Chris D'Elia.
Really?
Yeah, I listened to he had his own solo podcast where he would just rant for 2 hours.
Yeah. Every comedian has a podcast.
She listened to that every day.
He was on the up and up.
He was about to blow up.
He was about to pop.
This was supposed to be the start of his film career for him.
Yeah, his first big movie.
It didn't work out.
Before we continue, check out this amazing poster over my right shoulder. It's of the Black Phone 2 double-sided movie theater quality print inside of a beautiful light box, both from our great friends at movieposters.com. Use our code Raiders10 to get 10% off your order today. Now, in the film Tenet, there's this great theory where Eves is actually a younger version of Michael Caine's character, Crosby. Eves is played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. Now, Eves and Crosby, huge age gap. Eves probably in his 20s, Crosby's clearly in his 80s, older man. They have the same Cockney British accents, as well as Crosby in the early parts of the film kind of briefs protagonist on what's going on. He talks about this explosion. Obviously, if you know Tenet, it's all reversed and backwards. We're inverting, reverting. And so there's this great theory that Anthony and I both believe that Eves is actually Crosby, and now he's just been going reversed in time to give the details and the briefing to protagonists who he succeeded with 50 years in the past to him.
Aaron Taylor Johnson and Michael Caine play the same character, and the way this is possible is through time inversion, where you can look at Eves, who is a Tenet agent. He ages up to 80 years old, but he's never lived past, you could say, the year 2020 in a way, because he's always living in real time, then inverting and going back through time and going back and forth. So you could guess that as a Tenet agent, he's always going on these missions, which often take weeks or even months to handle. And so he spent so much time inverted that he's aged to the point where he's now in his 80s and he's never lived past the year 2025. So you can absolutely tell it's possible that Aaron Taylor Johnson is playing the same character as Michael Caine for that reason.
And don't look at it like Eves is going back in time for 25 years, going inverted for that long of a period of time. He's constantly bouncing back and forth, inversion, reversion. Like Anthony said, he's on missions. He works for this organization, and they're constantly going back and forth between times. So he kind of like never moves in time.
I always imagine from the film that the Tenet forces, like, this isn't the first Tenet mission they've been on. They've been on many inversion missions.
That's said at the end of the movie with Pattinson.
Yeah, so like Eves probably does this for like the next 50 years, and it's like he's protecting the world.
He just never really moves in his timeline.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next up, we have a crazy fact about Laura Dern, who's now one of the most respected veteran actors alive. She was actually blacklisted in the 90s by Hollywood right after Jurassic Park, and this is because after her role in Jurassic Park, Laura Dern played Ellen DeGeneres' girlfriend on the Ellen TV show in the famous episode where Ellen came out as gay on the show. After Laura Dern appeared on this program on this episode, what happened was she was apparently blacklisted by all of Hollywood. This is a time where not even Hollywood was accepting of gay people, and this is pretty crazy to look back on. It was not even 30 years ago, but she stopped getting any offers for work after this episode aired, and she was receiving threats for a long time. She had to employ a full-time security detail to protect her during this time period, and it took her a very long time to come out of that hole that Hollywood dug her into.
And what's interesting is because she comes from an acting family. Bruce Dern was her father, and obviously one of the reasons she got her start in Hollywood, it happens. But she's so talented, and now we look at her, how could that have happened to her? She was in Jurassic Park. She's a huge star. And then she gets blacklisted, but now she's, an Oscar winner.
Yeah.
And so respected, like you said, and has a great cameo this year in a fun movie.
I will say the only person that always gave her opportunities was David Lynch.
Yep.
Always was happy to have her in his films.
Yeah, she was one of his muses.
Yeah,
for sure. Let's talk about Hollywood and acne. And Lady Bird's a great example of Hollywood always erasing acne, but Lady Bird doesn't erase acne. So in the film Lady Bird, she has pretty bad complexion. We've all been there. We've all had breakouts. And Saoirse Ronan had an acne breakout before making Lady Bird. She and Greta Gerwig decided not to do what Hollywood always does. Don't erase it digitally. Let's keep it there. Let's not cover up her acne. Let's not alter it or smooth it out, because this is authentic to reality. This is what kids are really like. We've all had breakouts. I get pimples every once in a while, especially a teenager.
I got one right here.
Yeah, exactly. But when you look into movies like especially the 2000s, Harry Potter movies, there's not a single pimple in those entire films, or coming-of-age movies. Everything's smoothed out, and it looks great, but at the same time, that's not exactly what kids look like. Teenagers, we all have bad breakouts. We all have complexion issues. We're going through hormone changes, and it causes it to happen. I think it's a really, brave thing to do for a young movie star, and obviously, it connects people to the movie a lot more.
Yeah, 100%. If you think about it, you don't see acne in any major large budget film with teens in it.
Not anymore.
Their
Except for Lady Bird. That's it.
It's interesting.
Unless they do it on purpose, with makeup.
Yeah, if it's part of the plot, or, they need to have it for the character.
Like Jamie Foxx is Electro, he's a little pimply.
He is very pimply. What a dork. All right, next up, one of my favorite acting scenes is in The Master with Joaquin Phoenix and Philip Seymour Hoffman. Now, in this scene, it's an incredible display of improvised acting, where Joaquin Phoenix's character basically destroys a bathroom, which was not planned. So the scene is set in a prison, and both Lancaster Dodd and Freddie Quell are arrested for misbehavior, and they're put into cells that are next to each other. In the cells are the bunk bed and a toilet. Joaquin Phoenix is berated by Philip Seymour Hoffman, and they start this huge emotional argument to the point where the physical performance of Joaquin is so powerful that he is like this boundless fuel cell of energy. He starts bashing his body against the bunk beds, and then he kicks the toilet, breaking the toilet, shattering the porcelain, almost destroying the entire cell. None of this was planned. None of this was supposed to happen. This was Joaquin Phoenix set loose by Paul Thomas Anderson, who understood that you put these actors into a scene and let them do their thing. This whole sequence, for the most part, was improvised, and it's such a brilliant performance of physical acting.
I wonder if before the take, they probably did a bunch of takes, but then Joaquin's like, hey, Paul, do you mind if I break this goddamn toilet? Because he kicks the shit out of that thing.
He wanted to break it.
So I'm sure they got takes in where they like didn't destroy the cells, but I think he's like the final take, go crazy, man.
Yeah.
And I think Joaquin's one of those actors where if he wants to, he can tap into like that wild manic energy. He's a dog on a leash, and you just let go of that leash and just see what he does.
I think this is Joaquin's best performance, even over the Joker.
I think so too. I think he's really incredible. This is one of the early films for him, I would say, where he absolutely disappeared and became, I think, the same level actor as someone like Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh, yeah. He's so good in this. Unbelievable performance.
Anthony, did you know that Aragorn was actually supposed to fight Sauron?
Crazy!
At the end of Return of the King, we all know the sequence. Frodo! Aragorn charges towards an army. He fights a giant troll, but at the end of Return of the King, they actually shot and filmed where Aragorn fights Sauron. Now, what happens is when they're approaching the Black Gate, this beautiful ghost-like elf appears in front of them, and this turns into Sauron. They actually filmed a stunt actor as Sauron with a giant costume and everything, and Aragorn fought him. You know, Peter Jackson, they filmed the sequence, but then when they were in the editing room, it didn't work. It didn't completely fit the plots or the story, and it didn't match what they were going with the sequence. And so what they ended up doing was they turned Sauron into a giant troll. And so the sequence and the fight in front of the Black Gate, where it's the final act, buying time for Frodo and Sam to get to Mordor and to throw the ring into the lava at Mount Doom, they digitally created this troll on top of Sauron. So when Aragorn's actually fighting that troll, he's actually fighting Sauron.
On set, yeah.
On set.
Yeah, and you can see behind-the-scenes photos from screenshots and some behind-the-scenes on set. And also, there are a couple of frames in the fight where you can actually see the original tip of the sword from that stunt actor who played Sauron in the filming. You can see the tip of his sword that wasn't perfectly painted over by the visual effects team. So it's really insane. It's interesting, but it wouldn't have worked as well.
I think it was the right thing to do, especially given the scale and scope of everything happening. And it's the same reason I think why they cut the mouth of Sauron from the theatrical version of the character coming out speaking for Sauron with that giant creepy mouth with the enormous teeth.
Yeah.
Sauron is best as this existential threat, a global existential threat with the eye as his representation. I think that's one of his most powerful, most terrifying for the audience versus personifying Sauron either by the actual embodiment of Sauron fighting Aragorn or the mouth of Sauron.
It also it's a plot hole because why didn't Sauron ever physically show up before?
Good point.
You know what I mean? When you film that, you're like, oh shit, he could have just appeared anytime and just fucked people up.
It's pretty cool though.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
It must have been fun to shoot.
Oh yeah. Next up, an amazing fact about Alien is that the actor who played the original Xenomorph was discovered in a bar. Bolaji Badejo was the stunt performer and actor who performed as the Xenomorph in the original Alien film. He was discovered by the casting director in a bar in London because Badejo was 7'1" and had extremely long arms and legs, which set him apart from an average-looking person's size. They asked Badejo if he would like to perform as the Xenomorph in this film, and he agreed. And they helped design the suit based upon his body measurements, and his size and stature made the Xenomorph feel more than just a man in a suit. This film would not have worked if it wasn't for Badejo and his physical performance as the Xenomorph. You could see some really cool behind-the-scenes photos of him in costume fittings, of him posing with the costume, and also him performing in scenes. And it's really made the Xenomorph feel striking, feel alien, and feel very imposing because of how tall he was and how long his arms and legs were.
I like how we have to be so safe. He's taller than the average person. It's like,
oh my God,
bro, you tall as fuck. You want to be in this movie?
7'1", that's tall.
7'1", but also just unusually long limbs.
Yes.
In addition to that, I think that was just a great find. It's kind of like one of those things it's meant to happen.
And Fede Alvarez did something similar with Alien Romulus when he cast that very lanky, very tall basketball player to play the hybrid Xenomorph alien in the end of Alien Romulus. Very similar idea.
It's a great point, Anthony. Wow, you and your astute observations are just some of my favorite moments in life.
Thanks, man. That's
welcome.
really touching. Sounds like a sad life, though. Those are your highlights.
My highlights are Anthony's tidbits.
Wow, Anthony talked about Xenomorph.
Let's get into Sofia Coppola and Spike Jonze, who both made films about their failed marriage and relationship. So, Lost in Translation, Sofia made first. This is following a lead character played by Scarlett Johansson, who is dating a very successful and famous photographer. And it can be implied that Giovanni Ribisi's character is Spike Jonze during his rise as a film director in the 90s and 2000s when he was becoming very prominent and very successful in Hollywood. And you could argue that Sophia's character, ScarJo, represents her in the relationship. And then Spike Jonze comes out with her several years later, another terrific film about the relationship with her and Coppola. But Spike Jonze has Joaquin Phoenix playing arguably himself, or representation of himself in the relationship, and understanding the mistakes of his past, where Rooney Mara plays the representation of Sofia Coppola.
And in her, Joaquin's character didn't understand why she wanted to divorce him and was unaware of her happiness.
Unhappiness.
Of her unhappiness, which is why she wanted to get divorced. So you could say that he was, in real life, was probably blindsided by the divorce by Coppola and didn't realize it, which he put into the film Her.
I think that's one of the reasons why they're both terrific and such great scripts, because they pull from their lives. And Her is just a great example of someone really coming to terms with the mistakes of their past. And, you know, sometimes it can take a few years to realize what's really going on in a relationship and really the way you're affecting the other person, and you're putting things on you kind of have a hierarchy of things that are important to you, and the happiness that you feel in moments in a relationship blinding you to what's really going on.
Yes, and Spike Jonze did, in fact, fall in love with his iPhone after this.
He did make an iPhone music video.
That's a good one, yeah. All right, next up. For the film American Psycho, most major fashion brands refused to let their clothing and products be used by Patrick Bateman in the film. This made production very difficult because in the book, the character Patrick Bateman is well known for obsessing over designer suits, designer accessories, and all sorts of things that the high class can afford. What he's wearing, what he's putting on his body is very definitive of who he is. So this made filming very difficult because they couldn't get all the brands that are in the book. For example, Rolex did not want him to say the word Rolex, as well as fashion designers would not let Christian Bale wear their suits in the film, even though Patrick Bateman wears their suits in the novel. Also, this goes to the music as well. The famous song, It's Hip to Be Square, which is one of the most iconic tracks in that film, that band forced the studio to take their song off of the film's soundtrack in a way to distance themselves from the film. Also, Whitney Houston's song, The Greatest Love of All, they did not use the original song in the film. They were forced to use a cover of the song because Whitney Houston and her people would not let them use the original track in the movie. So at this time, these companies wanted nothing to do with such a violent film.
Patrick, where did you get that overnight bag? Jean-Paul Gaultier.
One of the brands they were able to say, which is crazy because nowadays, I think companies realize that any press is good press.
In a way,
they would be happy to have it.
Not necessarily. I wouldn't say that. You don't want like your Baskin Robbins to represent a guy who's a serial killer. You know what I mean? I think that there are brands that wouldn't want that, Anthony. You know, there is such thing as bad press. We've learned.
Apple iPhones.
Companies completely get destroyed from bad press nowadays. 20 years ago is a different story. And I think iPhones are a good example where I think they changed it recently, but Apple will let you use their phones in movies with characters, but it can't be used by villains.
I believe they change it though.
Yeah,
I think nowadays.
That's literally what I said.
No, but I know, but I think nowadays that companies are like, yeah, we'd love to be featured in your movie. It doesn't really matter what the movie's about.
Again, Baskin Robbins might not want Patrick Bateman scooping chunky chocolate.
Ridiculous company to point out.
That's the first thing that came to my mind.
I'm saying it's free advertising.
Did you know that Molly's Game is apparently about Tobey Maguire in a way? So Tobey Maguire is a world-class poker player, And it's rumored that he's depicted in the film Molly's Game, starring Jessica Chastain, which is based on real Hollywood poker games that are underground games for the elite and rich. And there's that character, Player X, depicted by Michael Cera in the film, who is just ruthless, cutthroat, will take money from you any chance he can get. Apparently, this Player X depicts Tobey Maguire. It's not confirmed, it's just a rumor, but there's a lot of speculation.
Apparently, from this was an underground poker ring depicted in the film, and Molly was the runner of it. Apparently, Tobey Maguire, rumored, now she wrote this book, didn't name him, but called him Player X, not Professor X. She said that he would earn $1 million each month in these poker games because in a lot of ways he was taking advantage of inexperienced players who were rich guys in over their head. And he would be ruthless, he would be calculating, and he would humiliate his victims in a way. He's portrayed by her in her writing as a pretty vicious poker player, which is really interesting and proof that he was probably wearing the black Spider-Man suit underneath his clothing.
I don't think he'd gotten there yet, but I mean, easy money. And also, it's kind of like the opening of Ocean's 11, where Rusty's teaching these actors how to play poker, and they're just terrible at it, but they have all this money, so they want to do something with it.
Apparently, Ben and Matt played in those games as well as DiCaprio.
Ben was a lot more into poker. Obviously, he's still like...
I remember he was in a couple of World Series poker tournaments, and they would just keep cutting to him.
Yeah.
All right. You know Tom Cruise is going to be on this crazy facts list. We're not talking about stunts here. But Tom Cruise became a professional level poker player for his film, The Color of Money, directed by Martin Scorsese, which is a sequel of The Hustler with Paul Newman, who plays the same character in both movies. Now, Martin Scorsese was able to do a lot of really incredible, complex wonders in the film because Tom Cruise was so good at pool. He was able to hit many complex, highly difficult shots in a row so that Scorsese didn't have to cut and edit between takes. He was able to shoot pretty much most of these sequences in oneers, and you can see these incredible long shots where Tom is just hitting shot after shot after shot, and there's an incredibly complex, very difficult shot near the tail end of the film. Now, this is the only shot that a professional pool player did this one shot instead of Tom in the entire film, and this was because of time. Scorsese said Tom could have done this incredibly complex shot if he had given himself a couple of hours to practice the shot right before filming it, but they were on a time crunch. They didn't have time to let Tom Cruise work the shot out, so instead they had a very efficient professional player hit this one shot in the film. Otherwise, Tom did every single shot in the movie.
One of my all-time favorite scenes is in The Color of Money. And it's the incredible wonder where Scorsese and the camera are going around the pool table. Werewolves of London's playing in the background. Vince, played by Tom Cruise, is showboating, dancing, singing, doing all these great acting beats while hitting shot after shot after shot. The camera doesn't cut. That's so impressive. Not just to hit all the shots. Sure, a lot of pool players can do that, but to also sing at the same time to the same song. All these great movements. He's using the pool cue like a samurai sword. He's having so much fun, and it's just so impressive.
You're dealing with the choreography of the movie as well as trying to hit the shots.
If you miss the shot, you have to start over.
Yeah, so it's incredible how he did this.
What also is incredible is in Interstellar, Tars is actually, for the most part, a practical effect. He's a large puppet, and he had a puppeteer behind him in a gray leotard. His name was Bill Irwin. He also voiced Tars in the film. An incredible puppeteer and performer. He would operate the puppet himself behind Tars. Of course, there's some visual effects shots of Tars, like spinning and going through the water that you can't literally do with a human being. But Nolan, they were coming up with this robot idea with Tars, who's one of my favorite parts of the film. He gets a lot of flack, Tars. People call him the lamest robot in movies. But I think he's super fun. And he tested the idea of this rectangular-shaped robot on his children, Nolan did. And at first, Nolan's children were like, oh, it's kind of lame. But then they showed like the way he moves and the way he interacts and how he talks, and they thought it was a cool idea. And so then they kind of greenlit the idea of Tars and went into full development on it. And I think that Tars is a standout in Interstellar for sure.
Yeah, it's really cool to see behind-the-scenes photos with Bill Irwin right behind the mechanical device of the puppet. And it's great. I think it works really well. And for the actors, I'm sure it helped to have someone on set performing with him rather than someone like in the crew off camera shouting out lines at them. They have actually someone to perform with in the scene.
And why a gray leotard? Because he's easier to erase if he's in a shot, if his elbow's sticking out. And also you can hide him better with shadows, like the opening scene in the first act when he's interacting with Dr. Mann and Cooper inside the shadowy government facility. And there's just darkness behind Charles. It's easy to hide a practical actor behind them.
I do want to see the Irwin cut. I want to see the cut of the movie where you can see him in the frame.
He's just like, hey, guys.
I would love to see that.
All right, we're halfway through our fun facts.
Yeah, man.
That's 15. Let's run to our intermission. We'll come back, and we're going to blow your mind with 15 more. And we're going to talk about Downey peeing in mason jars on the set of Zodiac, La La Land, how they use colors to depict the relationship stages of the film between me and Sebastian, more alien facts, more Lord of the Rings facts, as well as a fun Saving Private Ryan fact.
We're going to explain Prisoners.
We're going to explain Prisoners as well. And also, I want to explain something cool. We're doing a new thing on YouTube where you can subscribe to memberships, and for $1 a month, you can get early access to episodes as soon as they get scheduled. You can view these episodes, so for just $1, you can join our membership program on YouTube. There's a couple other tiers that gets you more perks, so check out YouTube memberships. There's a join button on our homepage there. Helps us out so much, pay the rent. Another way to help us pay the rent, patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. You get access to bonus episodes there, all kinds of perks like access to our Discord. We do movie watch parties on there. We have a fantasy football draft with people on Discord. It's a great way to connect with other people who are fans of the show. And we have a great community on there on Discord, but you can only access that if you're a patron. So patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Leaving those 5-star ratings and reviews on Spotify and Apple are also integral to our show's success and future, and also paying the rent. You know, this is how we make a living. So we appreciate everyone who connects with us on there. Leaving written reviews on Apple Podcasts are so fun. I'll get to one in just a minute. Sharing us with your family and friends. Share your favorite episode. Anyone who needs something new to listen to on the road, at the gym, on their walks. They want to hear some fun banter, and me and Anthony go back and forth with movie factoids or analysis.
Factoids.
Or bickering. You want to hear it all? Send them our show, and subscribing on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. The way we get these cool events like early screenings, press junkets, interviews, whatever, it's because you interact with us on the social media platforms. So keep doing that. Keep leaving comments, likes, etc.
This episode, of course, is sponsored by our friends at movieposters.com, the #1 place to get your posters online today. Be sure to use our promo code Raiders10. That'll always get you 10% off your order, as well as the affiliate link in the link of this episode description and our social media bio. That gives James and I a little cut of the action. Look at that awesome Black Phone 2 poster behind James. Double-sided, backlit frame. That thing pops like you're in a movie theater. You can get these posters and these frames at movieposters.com, where they have a huge selection of pretty much every film and TV show imaginable in their poster library. These are high-quality prints, all sorts of sizes, framing and backlighting for your poster needs. Your favorite Hollywood blockbusters to your favorite Hollywood classics, international poster prints, as well as collectibles like lobby cards and original posters from way back in the day that are special collectors' rare items. These are the best posters, best bang for your buck in the world. Go to movieposters.com for all your poster needs. Always use the promo code Raiders10 to get 10% off your order, as well as the affiliate link.
Let's get into the intermission. Are you ready, Anthony?
Ready, James.
Here's the movie quote competition now. There's something out there waiting for us, and it ain't no man. We're all gonna die.
It ain't no man. What survival horror film is this? There's something out there waiting for us, and it ain't no man.
We're all gonna die.
It ain't no man. It's the Alien?
Predator.
Oh!
That's Billy.
Yeah, Billy, the Native American. Oh my God. Good line, man.
Thanks, dude.
Line. All right, I got two people talking here. Would you like to check my figures? Oh, I'm sure they're perfectly rounded.
That's a good one. But I don't know it.
The world is not enough.
Nice. Is that Halle Berry?
Wrong film.
Is that...
Wait.
She's Tomorrow Never Dies.
It's Cigar Girl is the character name.
Cigar Girl. Hey, who'd you play that James Bond movie? Cigar Girl.
That's serious. That's what it says. IMDb.
Guess this movie release year, Anthony. Bloodsport.
1995.
1988.
Oh, Jesus.
Way off.
Damn. What year did GoldenEye come out?
1996.
95.
Okay, movie pop quiz one. What part of New York did young Henry Hill grow up in Goodfellas?
Queens?
Yes.
Nice.
Specifically Astoria.
Had to get that one right. Oh, man. If I get that one wrong, I got to quit my job.
Yeah, you kind of did it.
So, I have a quiz question, but it's a list, but I gave you two of the answers.
You did?
My quiz is, what can you name Pierce Brosnan's Bond films? So, can you name them?
GoldenEye, Tomorrow Never Dies. Let's see. What was the last one he did? Oh, my God. I'm just... GoldenEye, Tomorrow Never Dies. The World's Not Enough.
It's 3.
What?
Oh, maybe this was a good one.
It's a really good question. It's a really good question.
Oh, yeah.
Freaking hell. People are screaming in their cars right now, I'm sure. GoldenEye, Tomorrow Never Dies. The World Is Not Enough.
Got him. I got him, guys. I got him.
Yeah, I'm blanked.
Die Another Day.
Die Another Day. Oh, my God. God damn it. Okay, Anthony, do we have any unsubscribes that you'd like to share?
First up, we got Ziggy. Anthony, stop tormenting James with your list questions, or I will list the ways I will unsubscribe from your show. Ziggy's actually Paul. Thanks. And then Susan Talby, late to the gold rush, never unsubscribing due to the wit. Oh, thanks. I'm glad to hear that we're witty or appear witty. AT Dubs, Ridley Skirt, unsubscribed. I don't know who said that, but someone did. All right, Paul again, unsubscribed. Anthony's being a Mr. Get Off My Lawn over here.
You got a lot of get off your lawn comments.
I was being grumpy.
He was being a grumpy Gil, guys. You bring up Marvel around Anthony these days, he just gets so grumpy.
All right, that's it for unsubscribes, guys. We just recorded twice in a row, so we don't have that many today.
We have a great 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts, though, from Grand Finale Superfan.
Hey.
I can't get enough of these guys in this podcast. 5 stars. This podcast is like catnip, and I'm the cat who can't get enough catnip, a.k.a. the podcast. The hosts are awesome and deserve all the 5 stars I'm giving them in this review. What a review. Did Juno write that?
Juno?
Yeah, did Juno the cat write that?
No, the cat didn't write that.
Thank you, Grand Finale Superfan, whoever you are, wherever you are. We appreciate the written review on Apple Podcasts.
Maybe it is Juno.
Maybe, possibly.
He's smarter than I thought then.
Must have been difficult without thumbs. Anthony, what's your movie streaming recommendation?
Dread is on Max. Great one.
I also picked a film on Max. Friendship just dropped on September 5th on there.
Oh, nice.
And so I can't wait to give that a rewatch.
I'll rent it at the store.
I should just watch it on Max.
James's face when he just like looked away with just like disdain.
Oh, you
can
like,
just watch
it's
it.
like right there. It's like
You just watch it on the living room TV.
You just hit play.
Nah, man. I'm committed. I'm committed to this, man. It's my life.
I love physical media as well, but it's literally just on Max. It's one click away. Let's get back into our episode, Anthony. You want to take us away with Prisoners? Spoilers ahead, guys.
We're gonna. Oh
my God. Hold on, Anthony had a stroke. Anthony had a stroke. Anthony, can you hear me? Can you hear what I'm saying? How many fingers am I holding up?
3. Okay, I'm back. It's time to explain Prisoners. in the character Bob Taylor, played by David Dastmalchian. Now, the plot of Prisoners is all tied to Dastmalchian's character, Bob Taylor. Jake Gyllenhaal's character tracks him down to his home during his investigation. We see that Bob Taylor's house is covered in all these mazes on the walls. It's also filled with plastic bins with snakes and blood-covered clothing of children.
He also, remember, sneaks into the home and steals the clothing, right?
I'm getting there.
Okay, sorry.
These are the clothes belonging to kids in the neighborhood. He sneaks into the homes and steals the clothes. All these things are in his house, and they tie to his past, as well as the character of Holly, who is the culprit and killer that we learn at the end of the film. Bob Taylor was one of the kids that Holly and her husband abducted many years before. When they abducted kids, they used snake venom to drug them, and they also forced them to solve mazes in notebooks to pass the time. This is why he collects all these snakes, and that's why his walls of his home are covered in these mazes. So Bob Taylor doesn't have too strong of memories about what happened to him as a kid, but he has the trauma and he has the images and feelings that he experienced as a kid, but he couldn't really understand who was doing it to him because he was drugged up by the snake venom concoction the whole time.
You're missing a very important detail.
I'm getting there. Holy shit. This all ties to the true crime fiction book found in one of the crime scenes of the homes. It's called Catching the Invisible Man. Now, this is a true crime book written about the disappearance of all these kids over the years in this area. Now, Bob Taylor is living out some kind of really strange, traumatic fantasy about the killer in this true crime book, The Invisible Man. This is why he sneaks into people's homes and steals the clothes of children, and he covers them with pig's blood. In a way, he's reliving his trauma of being abducted and held prisoner, as well as, in a way, living out the experience of the Invisible Man in the book Catching the Invisible Man. This is what leads Jake Gyllenhaal's character on this basically wrong direction trail where the evidence is alluring, but Bob Taylor is not the culprit. He's actually one of the victims.
Really good job. You didn't miss a single thing.
Thank you so much for patiently listening to me, James. This fucking guy. You're missing this. Oh, also, this is why.
You did a really good job. I'm just here as backup.
Oh my God. This guy.
You want to talk about Robert Downey Jr. peeing in mason jars?
Go for it.
So on the set of Zodiac, the David Fincher film, Robert Downey Jr. kept peeing in mason jars. Now, why did he keep doing this? This is 2000s, and film was starting to shift to digital production. And Robert Downey Jr. was used to taking, cigarette breaks and going to relax while film was being changed inside the cameras, putting new magazines in. And when you're shooting with Fincher, especially when you were shooting digital, you don't stop. You just change the memory card and you're good to go. Change the battery, change the memory card if you need a battery. And so there weren't really that many breaks, and especially because stop laughing at me. David Fincher.
All over the place.
Well, because first of all, I'm saying this, and you have a mouthful of water, and your cheeks are like this. I'm trying to do my bit, and you have a mouthful of water with massive balloon cheeks. You look like a chipmunk over there.
You do not have to stare at me while you say this.
Well, we're on
Stare
a podcast.
Stare at the camera.
I have been doing this for 5 years, and we look at each other when we talk, Anthony. So, of course, I'm going to look at you in your balloon cheeks.
I always do that when I drink water.
Let me take it from the top. No, I'm just kidding. So Robert Downey Jr. started becoming hostile because he couldn't take his breaks as often as he's used to on film sets because there's no time to change the magazines for film, and Fincher shoots unrelentless amounts of takes. He shoots dozens and dozens of takes for every single shot he does. So in protest, Robert Downey Jr. started peeing in mason jars and leaving them around on set.
So funny.
It's pretty funny.
Sounds like a Downey thing to do.
It does. He's a very strong personality. I read similarly, it was something that Dwayne Johnson was doing on sets as well.
Well, the Dwayne Johnson thing was that he would do that, then he would have PAs carry it away.
Well, I think it's because he's trying to be as efficient as possible. So he's like, I can't leave set. Imagine that's your day.
Your job
Your
is to
PA.
carry Dwayne Johnson's piss around.
He gives you a giant jug of
I'm
piss.
sure there's a lot of it too. He's a big guy.
That's what I mean,
He probably
a jug.
drinks a lot of water. That's a tough job, man.
But I get, Downey, you're used to film mags being changed. You get a cigarette break.
You
but
get that like 5 minutes to really take a break, and like I get it as an actor, you need to just you need a moment. I get it, but
and Fincher's relentless. Like
just-
even
yeah.
I was watching behind the scenes of Zodiac, and Jake Gyllenhaal was getting like kind of annoyed where they did like 22 takes of a insert
The
shot
car.
inside the car, him just putting a book down on the seat. And Jake Gyllenhaal was like, "What are we doing here, guys?"
he was like, how about we do it like this? Do it like this. Do we get it, guys?
It's very particular.
It's funny, yeah. All right, next up, James Cameron, being a CGI whiz, one of the coolest.
Hires CGI whizzes.
Yeah, okay. One of the funnest facts about Avatar, the first film, is that Sigourney Weaver's character is a cigarette smoker. She's always got a butt in her hand. She's always ripping butts. However, in real life, she refuses to smoke cigarettes at all, even for her job. And so, she was miming smoking cigarettes this entire film, and the visual effects team digitally placed in cigarettes for the film. So whenever she's smoking, whenever she's holding a cigarette between her fingers, there is nothing there in reality. That was all animated because Sigourney refused to smoke, even fake cigarettes on set. Even fake cigarettes, it's not like they're good for you. It's not like you're breathing in clean smoke. It's still something that you're inhaling that's like in a way not toxic but not good for you. So I understand her not wanting to even smoke the fake herbal cigarettes on a film set. It is pretty crazy because like when you watch this film, you're like, you don't even think about it, but all those cigarettes are fake.
All the cigarettes in Avatar are fake. It blows my mind. CGI, I mean, the water enough is so much CGI and just the characters in general, but it's really impressive. But I will say, I think that was the right thing to do because when I watch a movie and you can tell the actor doesn't want to take a real drag of a cigarette, it takes me out of the moment intensely. I understand you don't want to smoke if you don't want to smoke, but man, you can tell when an actor's trying not to inhale the smoke and it does not look natural because smokers, you inhale the shit out of that smoke.
Oh,
you
yeah.
take a real drag. But then, like, sometimes you'll see someone will, like, puff it like a cigar. You're like, that's not a cigarette smoker.
Or they don't even know how to hold it, and you can tell they don't know how to hold it.
It's just like, just fucking rip the butt, bro.
They do the puff, but
Yeah.
it's like they didn't inhale.
That's
at
not
all.
what you do.
It's like
cigarettes are an addiction, and that you need that hit.
It's like when a kid is like has to smoke for a movie and they just do that little puff and they blow it. Like they didn't inhale.
Doesn't work.
It's like Natalie Portman in Leon. She does that. She's smoking a cigarette in the balcony.
That's different. She's a kid.
No, that's what I'm
so
saying.
yeah.
But adults do it like that sometimes because
Yeah.
they don't want to inhale. It
Takes me out.
Just fucking inhale it. You're getting paid a lot of money to act. Just inhale it.
Yo, if I was a movie star, I would definitely get a cigarette addiction if they wanted me to. Like, sure, dude, I will be ripping butts all day for you. Can you talk about the There Will Be Blood thing?
So the young boy who plays HW in There Will Be Blood, Daniel Plainview's son in the film, was actually a local actor. Paul Thomas Anderson and his casting team were looking for local kids to portray Daniel Plainview's in the film, and they didn't want to go the traditional actor route. They ended up finding this kid named Dylan in the area who seemed perfect for the part. He was athletic. He knew the outdoors. He was outdoorsy. He knew the area. And so he fit the bill for HW, who, with his father, Daniel, travels around looking for oil. So they spend a lot of time outside. He was also a hunter, like with his father taught him how to hunt. So they're like, this kid's perfect. He can read lines really well with Daniel. And so they wanted to hire him for the role. When they were interested, Dylan's mother, not knowing much about film and not knowing who Daniel Day-Lewis was at all, decided to watch Gangs of New York to familiarize herself with the guy who would be spending so much time with her son. Watching Daniel Day-Lewis's terrifying performance scared the daylights out of her, and she refused to let this man anywhere near her son, especially for long periods of filming, because we're talking like 4 months of work. The production found out about this, and in a panic, they sent her Martin Scorsese's film, The Age of Innocent. And in this film, Daniel Day-Lewis plays a very loving, very emotionally controlled, generous, and kind individual. A very sweet man in that film. And so she watched this film and was like, okay, my son can work with this man. I'm not terrified of him anymore.
Yeah, the Age of Innocence will do that to you. That'll break you down emotionally for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty funny. I mean, Gangs of New York, I was terrified of Daniel Day-Lewis the first time I saw that movie as well.
Yeah, be a parent. You're like, your son's going to spend all this time with this guy. It's pretty scary.
He's got a serious addiction to knives. Pretty intense.
Addiction to knives.
I would love to talk about La La Land. One of my favorite facts about La La Land is the wonderful colors in the production design and how they used colors to depict the relationship in La La Land between Mia and Sebastian. So the first act of the film, Mia and Sebastian are wearing mostly primary colors, blue, red, yellow. This is because they haven't become connected yet, and primary colors are not really a blend yet. You know, you blend primary colors to create other colors. And then when Mia and Sebastian finally become connected and they start to date and they're in a relationship, the colors blend and we see the beautiful purplish pink sunset behind them as they dance at the Griffith Observatory. Or we see the color palettes blending at the jazz club. The jazz club's lit orange and Mia's wearing red, Sebastian's wearing yellow. The colors are blending. And also at home, the City of Stars sequence, they have that green light pouring into the apartment, the blends of blue and yellow. So the primary colors are blending, meaning they're connected. However, as they start to become more estranged in their relationship and start to drift apart, the primary colors come back until, you know, we're seeing red again, we're seeing blue and yellow again, and most prominently, the final scene of the film, when we make it to Seb's jazz club, it's not a blend of primary colors. We see strong colors of blue and red inside the club. And, you know, Mia's wearing blue and Seb's wearing red, maroon. And so the primary colors are back. They're not connected. They're not blended together, even though they see each other. And it's a really beautiful, creative, and kind of genius way, in a very simplified way, to show the connection of the characters.
And in that scene, it's like a gradient
Yeah.
of the lighting with the blue and the red mixing as a gradient, not combining, but just like one edge is red, one edge is blue. And the Mia's big dance sequence with her friends, they're all dressed in a primary color.
They look like the Ninja Turtles.
Shells and all.
No, I think it's simple. You know, I think when a lot of production designers and filmmakers, sometimes they overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
But when you bring it down to simplicity, it gets the point across, and it's beautiful. And I think it just comes across as this beautiful motif throughout the film.
Fuck yeah. I have a fact that I'm very passionate about, and I think you agree with me on this one. Tom Cruise is not a white savior in The Last Samurai. People think this is a white savior film, but it's not true at all. Nathan Algren doesn't save anybody. He also isn't even a samurai. He just joins the community. He is never called a samurai by anyone in this film because he isn't one. The title, The Last Samurai, is actually plural. So it refers to Ken Watanabe's entire tribe as being the last samurai, not Tom Cruise. This film is actually a beautiful depiction of the traditional Japanese culture, the samurai community, and is also about the dangers of a growing Western influence. So it's anti-Western. Nathan Algren is also suffering from the regret of his past and what American soldiers did to the Native Americans back home in America. This film is so misunderstood. Tom Cruise never becomes a samurai, and Tom Cruise never saves anybody. He simply becomes accepted by the men in the community, and they allow him to fight alongside him. They do see him as a strong ally because he's well-versed in Western soldiers, army, and fighting tactics, which is why they let him help with their strategy in the final battle. He doesn't become a samurai. He becomes a member of the community.
I think the most important part of The Last Samurai is the samurai save him. He's saved by the samurai. And it can't be really a white savior movie if you don't accomplish your mission at the end. They all die. So who got saved?
Nobody.
They all got killed. He survived to be able to tell the tale to help sway the decision of the emperor to remember the roots, to remember the traditions of the past, and not to be completely swayed with the power and the ferocity and the monetary potential of Western civilization and modernization, but to remember the past, to remember why these men died. The samurai went into the final battle knowing they'd lose, knowing they'd get killed, but they were just trying to make a stand and to send a message.
I think so many people who think this film is a white savior, they look at the poster and they assume.
If they watched the movie,
Yeah.
whew.
If you watch the film,
Masterpiece.
It'll change your mind, man.
Change your life.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. One of my
I
favorites.
love The Last Samurai. I also love Alien. We're going to talk about Alien again. So the sets in Alien were huge, especially the space jockey sets, the exteriors of the ship landing, but they weren't that big where Ridley Scott needed to make them look enormous on camera. And they did this with perspective by putting kids in spacesuits. So a lot of the wide shots, we have tiny figures in spacesuits outside the jockey or inside the spaceship itself, outside the crash site. And these were actually Ridley Scott's kids. He put them in spacesuits. The production team built and created not miniature, but small spacesuits for kids to be in. And through perspective, you put these kids on a set, it makes everything look bigger because, when you're watching it, it feels, we just saw John Hurt's face, an adult, in a close-up, but now we see these little children. And you can kind of tell when you know this fact that, these kids are walking like kids. They're not completely well-coordinated. They look like little miniature humans. It's a lot of fun, but I think it's a really clever way to use perspective to make your set look bigger.
Since the children are half the height of adults, it makes the set look twice as big than what it really is. So it was just a brilliant, really good problem solve, and it just looks amazing.
It's simple. A lot of movies, you don't have to use CGI and visual effects and digital effects and post-production to get things like this to happen. Elf is a great example of practically using forced perspective to make Will Ferrell look enormous to the elves in the film, who are just actors and normal-sized humans, average height. And forced perspective, you put Will Ferrell closer to the camera and you construct your set so that the lens is closer to him. It looks like he's enormous compared to the other characters.
100%.
Yeah, it works really well.
Next up, the Lord of the Rings films were actually filmed back to back to back as one giant movie production. Peter Jackson filmed all 3 movies as one film, and the massive production took a total of 274 days of production, which is actually the same number of days it took Francis Ford Coppola to make Apocalypse Now. This is easily one of, if not the greatest achievement in filmmaking from Peter Jackson. He, however, due to the long filmmaking, fell into kind of a depression of creativity because they were doing so many shots, so many days in a row. He was getting worn out mentally by it. And he credits Martin Scorsese with jolting new senses of creativity into his filmmaking because when he was feeling down, he watched a few Scorsese films, primarily Goodfellas, which has some of the most dynamic camera movements of its day. And that infused a lot of inspiration in Peter Jackson and basically gave him the energy he needed to be like, you know what? Let's make this more fun. And so you can see, actually in the filmmaking, his camera movements became more stylish, more energetic, with more movement because he watched Goodfellas.
I do the same thing. If I'm feeling down, I put on some of my favorite movies, and there's nothing like Goodfellas or Scorsese in general. One of the best, if not the best filmmaker of all time. And for a movie to jolt energy into you, one of the most energetic films ever made will do that for sure.
I watched this film after learning about this fact, and I watched, and I watched it was, and then I had watched the trilogy. It wasn't like right after, but I was aware of this fact because Peter Jackson said this in an interview about Goodfellas, and it's like, you know what, you can feel, the fast push-ins, the whipping camera,
pacing,
how Scorsese shoots. You could see Peter Jackson was inspired by that with how he moves the camera in those movies.
Yeah, Frodo is basically Henry Hill. Ever since I can remember, I always wanted to meet the elves. I'm sorry, that's Samwise.
That is Samwise has always wanted to meet the elves. Yeah.
But Sam, I thought you always wanted to meet the elves. I did, Mr. Frodo. But now that we're here, we got the ring. All right, I'll stop. Okay, I want to talk about.
She doesn't want to date a hobbit. Can you believe that? This day and age, she's prejudiced against hobbits.
An elf broad. Prejudiced against hobbits. This day and age.
Can you believe this?
I'm trying to bang this broad, man. I'm trying to bang her.
I'm trying to bang this elf. I don't know what happened. He said he really liked you. You had a great time.
Oh my gosh. All right, I want to talk about how Steven Spielberg tricked the world and audiences with Saving Private Ryan. Because the film opens up, obviously, with a war veteran crying at a tombstone, and then the camera dissolves and pushes into a close-up of soldiers on a boat in the sequence following Tom Hanks' character in the film. Now, I know everyone says that they knew the whole time, when they look back, that they knew it was Matt Damon in the opening of the movie. Everyone says, I knew it was Matt Damon. It was obvious at the beginning of the movie that it was an old version of Matt Damon. But the whole time you watch this movie for the first time, if you remember, if you actually go back in time, it feels like the old man in the opening of the film is Tom Hanks. There's no denying that, because you have no idea Matt Damon's even in the movie.
You don't see him until an hour and a half.
And now everyone looks back and, I knew it was Matt Damon the whole time. There's no freaking way you knew it, because you didn't know Matt Damon was in the movie. No one really knew who Matt Damon was at the time, because when he got cast, of course, Good Will Hunting comes out right before this. He accidentally becomes a huge star. But in terms of him being cast in the movie, no one really understood who Matt Damon was yet.
The way that he set it up is that the man you see in the opening in the cemetery is the lead of the movie, and the shot of him, the push-in close-up of his eyes, and then moments later we get a very similar setup of Tom Cruise in the
Tom Hanks,
same angle. It's like that's the guy from the cemetery for audiences. Like, okay, now we're following Tom Hanks, so you think he survives.
It's Tom Hanks' movie for an hour,
and that's why it was a twist that Tom Hanks died, because audiences assumed that the man in the cemetery in the opening was Tom Hanks' character.
I don't care what anyone says. We've talked about this before, and people always like, I knew it was Matt Damon. You did
because you know it is.
Because you know it's Matt Damon, because you've heard, Matt Damon now is on the poster. He's so famous. You know he's Private Ryan. But if you put yourself in the shoes, or if you actually remember the first time you watched it, or if you did watch it years and years ago before the internet, really, I thought it was Tom Hanks the first time I watched this movie.
Yeah, and so the crossfade of Matt Damon in the end of the film, it crossfades from his face close up to the old man in the cemetery again. That was like it was Matt the whole time. Whoa!
Yeah,
that's what audiences were like. Exactly.
Basically. Well, we got real passionate about that one.
Yeah, man. I mean, because we've talked about this before, and people gave us so much crap.
Yeah.
And I'm like, come on, man.
You didn't.
You know it's Matt Damon because you know it's Matt Damon.
Now you do.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
All right, we got one more.
Yes.
Let's chat about. And I think this is a lot of fun. I think we should just more often like our greatest hits, fun facts.
Let's talk about Paimon.
It's Paimon.
Do you want to do this one?
Our final fun fact is Paimon, explaining Paimon in Hereditary. Now, Charlie, the younger sister in the film, is actually possessed by Paimon. Now, Paimon, Charlie's grandmother, obviously was a member of the cult in the film, and this cult has been trying to find a male host for Paimon to possess and to embody and reach his full form. But Paimon latches on to Charlie, and that's why Charlie, the character, is a bit odd. She's off. She has this weird tick. She has this click. She keeps making these stick figures, these twig men. And she has this great connection to her mother, her grandmother. Her grandmother kind of raised her as her own. She looked at Charlie as her own kid. And Charlie actually is embodied by Paimon in this entire film. And then when Charlie dies, she's decapitated by the telephone pole. Paimon needs a new host. And now the plan for the cult is to get Paimon into her older brother's body. And by the end of the film, that's what happens. Paimon now takes over his body at the end of the film after he falls out of the house.
You could argue he maybe dies in that fall, and that allows the demon entity to enter his body.
Probably, because after Charlie dies, he starts to get, tormented by Paimon, whether it's at school and the incredible acting from Alex Wolff when he smashes his face on the desk and is being tormented and no one believes him. He's going crazy until that incredible third act where his mother's chasing him around the house. You can argue that Paimon possessed his mother to then take over his body as well.
Yeah, and so the film ends with him finally being possessed, and Paimon has a new host body, and inside of that little treehouse, his worshippers now hail him, and so he now is in a new form. And you can imagine he will be living in this form indefinitely.
Yeah, it's crazy because then the decapitated head of Toni Collette's there, as well as the rotting corpse of the grandmother is there.
And all the naked members.
Creepy movie, but man, it's a great ending. But yeah, Charlie has Paimon inside of her
the whole film
until she dies.
Yeah.
That's why she has all those odd idiosyncrasies.
And then Peter is being haunted by Paimon, who's trying to enter him.
So that's actually a confusing thing that we've seen online. That's why we wanted to explain it.
Yeah.
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 That was an energetic episode.
Yeah. That was pretty fun. So that's 25 facts
These are our favorite facts.
of cinema. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. I had a lot
What's
of
your
fun.
favorite fact on this list?
My favorite fact on the list would probably be
I gotta go Tobey Maguire poker.
yeah.
Molly's Game, Tobey Maguire as player X.
I like Eve's, even though it's kind of
Yeah.
a theory. Also, the La La Land stuff is a lot of fun. I think it's really great.
Aw.
But yeah, there's a lot of great facts on here. Overall, though, thank you so much, guys, for tuning into this episode of 25 amazing, crazy movie facts. I think we got to do this again. We'll run it back. Make sure to always, as usual, subscribe on YouTube. Become a patron today at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews on Spotify and Apple. And take care.
See you next time.